Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Sorry for the delay this morning, but it's good to be here. We are doing another product manager resume review live stream. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I've got a bunch of folks waiting and staging, so we're going to start letting folks in. First, I just want to say hello to everybody and make sure that your headphones and microphones are working and that your resume, that you can actually share your resume. I can see already a lot of folks are sharing it, so that's good. That means we're going to get started pretty soon. You just say hello in chat. I see a few questions in chat. Lakshay, let me just get to your question real quick before we get started. The question is, Lakshay says, do I need to have prior experience as a PM before applying to Google? Lakshay, I can't tell you anything specifically about applying to Google or not, but I can say that you should have experience in product management when you apply for product management roles. But if you don't, that's okay, because you can start to build stuff on your own or join other smaller organizations and essentially build up your experience as you work up your way into actually getting into the career. So we all have to start from somewhere. So I just encourage you to go ahead and get started sooner rather than later. And then before you know it, you're going to have that product manager experience and you can actually apply to the bigger companies. And then I think you also ask, can a software profile experience work? So if you're talking about software engineering, then certainly, yes, it can work. It can be leveraged to get into product management because a lot of the work is the same and you end up interacting with engineers and you're thinking about things from a technical perspective. So it's very relevant. All right, folks, so let's go ahead and get started. I see Duong here. Duong, it looks like your resume is ready to go. I'm going to add you to the stream just a moment. Duong, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly. Good morning.
All right.
How are you? Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Can you give us just a few words of introduction and what you're looking to get out of the session?
But previously, right now I'm just trying to transition. Previously, I kind of did like the product owner at the automotive, especially Honda, and then I went into just my own startup. But the startup didn't, well, a couple of years, but actually failed. And I kind of transitioned them to startup consultant. I did some startup contract work.
Duong, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that startup didn't work out, but a lot of them don't. So that's okay. I think it was a lot of probably good, relevant experience. And looking forward to finding out more about it. It looks like you've got your resume shared, so you might well put it up on the screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Let's do it. All right, here we have it. We're going to take a look at it. So, and Duong, just to make sure that I'm on the same page with you, you're looking to get a product management job in tech. Any particular type of work, like software, any field that's interesting to you, or you're just thinking of a generalist?
It's more general, or mainly Microsoft or Google or startup company. Anything with robotic software or what?
Interesting. All right, sounds good. All right, so let's take a look. So your summary is short: improvement of the lives of others through exception product management. So I assume you mean like exceptional, and hopefully you mean improvement of the lives of others. I would say that's a very short summary, which is good. You also don't need it at all, I think. Mm-hmm. The experience should kind of speak for itself, or rather the line items that we've got. This is a common discussion here on the channel and during these streams is that people want to keep their summaries. And actually, usually long summaries are definitely not recommended, but short summaries are sometimes okay. And this one, you might want to make sure that it's actually functionally correct in terms of sentence structure, but ultimately doesn't necessarily bring anything new to the table. So whatever you want to demonstrate, if you want to demonstrate that you want to improve the lives of others, just demonstrate it inside of your resume. That would be my recommendation. Now let's see your 3 bullets that you identified here in your summary. Let's see if they are relevant, and if we cannot tell that story in the actual bullets describing the experience, then then we may want to pull them up top. But usually, again, they're kind of extraneous there. Let's take a look. Expertise in API, coding, creating 2 months MVP, autonomous robot crawler, result in the startup first seed funding. Right. Okay, so you may want to also rephrase that so that it's a little bit more comprehensible, because there's a couple of things you're saying there. You built a MVP fast, you raised seed funding, and it's a hardware which was not very fast. You're saying 3 things, and I strongly recommend saying one thing at a time, because you basically make the impact of each statement you make less when you say 3 things in one. So, and you also bolded something that is arguably the least relevant out of all of these statements, right? Because the fact that you raised seed funding and the fact that you worked very quickly on some sort of a autonomous robot crawler, those probably be more impactful to me than ramped up expertise in API, right? That ramped up expertise in API, that doesn't necessarily tell me anything. I would say, let me read a few more lines, Duong, but usually I recommend that, before you come on to the video to chat with me, I recommend you watch a bunch of my videos, and I gave like links and instructions. So it's very important for people to follow these, because otherwise I'm basically repeating stuff that I've already said in many different videos. And I want to make sure that the time we spend here is the most impactful. So if it's already stuff I said, I would encourage you to definitely check out the existing videos. Let me go through a little bit more here. I don't know. Have you seen the other videos?
Yeah, I watched them all.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
I reviewed my resume many times to see, but I'm not sure if maybe my wording is.
Okay. All right. That's good. Yeah, I just want to make sure you're on the same page. Collaborated with 30 team members, fast-paced startup environment. Okay, so prioritization features, autonomous 16-passenger electric shuttle built in 2 months. How do you do these things so quickly? This is kind of
A lot of effort for one vision, so everyone on one vision to build. So, and we just this was in a past in the Vietnam country, so everyone get together and
wow, that's
a lot
incredible.
of sometimes night and day.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That explains it a little bit, actually. That's great. That's quite amazing. So, then the still product runs the actual backlog, epics and tickets in Jira. Created driving personalization Android application, resulting in launching 21 accurate TLX, received stunning feedback. So this is very interesting. Like, I feel like maybe I'm not exactly understanding what you're building there, but you're working on presumably an application or just essentially software that will be autonomously navigating, right? Now, I don't know if it's actually driving. I mean, you've got a robot crawler, and then your 30-member startup, autonomous 16-passenger electric shuttle. So exactly what was built? Was it the hardware? Was it the software? Like what's happening here?
Well, both hardware and software have to be built. So it's all from scratch in 2 months. We have to put it together.
Both the software and the hardware?
Yeah, we have to do everything in 2 months. So.
And did it work in any way, shape, or form?
Well, just a geofence area.
But it drove around by itself?
Mostly, just in a circle.
Okay, all right. That's good. That's better than Nikola already, So that's pretty impressive.
But the startup actually failed because the OEM that they funded it cut it out. That's why.
And so why did the funding dry, or like what was the offering there? Like, were you trying to, because autonomous driving, like, okay, driving in a circle by itself is one thing. Any kind of meaningful autonomous driving takes these gigantic companies many years to get right. So what were you trying to focus on anything there? I'm sorry, I'm like delving deep into it, because it could be something that's very interesting for the many car startups, right, that are happening now. So it might be relevant.
It's a 30 people, but they don't want that. And it was funding by the largest OEM in but then the OEM decided to change direction and cut that out, and because COVID-19 and
Sure. Oh, sorry to hear that. So what I would recommend here is that you actually say these things that you say up top in the summary. I would recommend you actually put them in the bullets. Maybe you can call out, but you're calling out some confusing stuff there that I might not catch if I'm reviewing your resume. You need to think through what are the things you're actually trying to get across. Like, are you trying to get across that you built a startup around hardware and software of this complicated technical element and you delivered it fast? Then just tell me that. Because, you know, there's collaboration, a lot of team members, specifics about the thing that you built, and, you know, API, it's really unnecessary. The real estate on paper that you've got there on the top is very important. I always say, like, you want to make sure you capture the attention of the reader. So two options.
We don't have any metrics. That's why my metric I have is just fast, because there's no feedback yet.
Yeah.
Launch.
Sure. No, fast is good. And also sometimes, you know, when your metric is you built a prototype of an autonomous vehicle, hardware and software in 2 months, to just say that, because that's already very interesting. So you could just say that. But you can also say that below when you're actually listing out your bullet points. If it turns out that that's like the strongest thing that you want to demonstrate, that you can leave it on top, but just say it as shorter in a short form as possible.
Sorry.
Now let's look at your professional experience here real quick. So you got just scan through these. This is product manager, robotic contract, autonomous bus startup contract. So those two, the top two, I don't know that you want to break them down. It can be the same. It's the same company, right?
No, it's a different company.
Oh, it's a different
one startup failed, and then I went to work another one.
Okay, so Lena and Daiichi LLC, what is that?
That's I set up to do the consultant job. Basically, sign up.
That's your company.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that's the same company. If that company you're doing consulting, like you were doing consulting as your own LLC, then you could just say that, right? Like your LLC from April to September 2020. You just break it up less, and then within that you can say, I don't know what HyperX. Am I supposed to know what HyperX is? Is it a?
Oh, that's the company I work for.
Okay.
The first one.
Just the company. Okay. Sorry, I thought that it was like a prototype or some sort of a product. Okay, so ramped up expertise in API. So again, you got ramped up expertise in API. Ultimately, no one really will be caught by a statement like ramped up expertise in something.
I saw that they mentioned bolded on the job description on the product manager, and they want ramp up.
Gotcha. Oh, I see. You're customizing it one-to-one. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, that's not a bad idea when you've got time. I do recommend to customize your resume if you're like tailored to a specific job description. But usually it's try to go a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say you do have to look through the requirements and see if there's something that you can put in that will be a little bit more relevant to what they're looking for. So in this case, it makes sense if that's what you did it for, but to me, as I'm thinking of a generalist product manager, it fits into no category, right? Because are you demonstrating that you're a fast learner? If so, that doesn't necessarily convince me that's the case.
Awesome.
Oh, and so this is it, right? So these are the same things that you're saying up top. So even more reason why I would not put them in the summary. I would just list it where it is, and then let it speak for itself there. Accelerated plan, 2-month sprint, realistic, time-efficient manner, allowed teams to deliver 97% of MVP according to the company roadmap. That's fine. That's fine, but you're not really saying much. So if that was, I think the fact that you delivered both the software and the hardware in 2 months and led a team or worked with the team, collaborated with the team, and the end result was a functional, limited prototype, then that's what you want to say, and that's it. Like that's your main point there. All the other stuff from what I'm seeing, because you might not have proxy metrics, you might not have end metrics. If you did raise a seed round, that would be a good opportunity to mention that. That's always good. It's basically self-starting of any kind, entrepreneurship, and the ability to convince others to do anything is important. Let's keep going here. So I would combine, that first and the second, even though it's two different products. I would figure out a way to combine it because you're working for the same company as a consultant. And by the way, it's okay to mention that, like, this is your consulting company.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Led the product plan, features, roadmap, proposal, expand business value for OEM. Also, OEM, I don't know what industry you're talking about, right? Are you talking about some sort of the car industry, like the
automotive industry?
Okay, so automotive OEM would even be a little bit more helpful, because Vietnam's OEM doesn't tell me anything, because I don't know what OEMs are in Vietnam. I mean, for which industries. Mentored is good. Hardware, software member teams, or computer vision, artificial intelligence. That's good. That's very good. And right now, it's very specific to the automotive industry, which I think is strong. Like, you can apply for Tesla and any one of these other upstarts. Probably would have a good chance of getting past the initial recruiter stage and getting to a phone interview or something like that. So, but the downside of that is it's like a specialization, and so general PM, you might not necessarily, that resume might not necessarily look as attractive because it specializes in a particular industry. So it might catch someone's eye, it might not, but the automotive industry, I think, certainly.
Yeah, how to transition from automotive skill to like I did some IT work, but just side and web work just on a side project.
Sure. So, I mean, demonstrate that. And also in terms of transitioning, automotive is obviously hardware. So you could transition into other hardware PM or certainly software PM, because it obviously takes both to succeed in automotive. Articulate product features, user stories, roadmap, and way clearly understand of a development team. So this is a good example of a bullet point that basically lists a responsibility of the PM, like things that they should do, but it doesn't really tell a story about what was the impact of your work exactly, and what exactly did you do, and why did you do it. So it's sort of like a filler. It might be okay to list, but I usually recommend that you improve that, get that a little bit better. All right, let's keep going. Honda. All right, so Honda R&D, product owner, writing product requirements, user stories, etc. Negotiate sprint goals, slashing over delivery time from 2 years to 1 year. That's pretty impressive. I don't know that I necessarily. It's hard to believe that that's the personal impact on that one. Something like a big manufacturer like that, to get such huge movements in delivery times or any kind of KPIs, it requires usually big teams and specific projects. It's hard to just tighten it up with some better processes. I mean, it's possible. If that's what happened, that's certainly fine, but it's a little bit hard to believe as it is. And also, it's a big double line with the impact right at the very end, right? 2 years to 1 year. If you can get to that point a little bit faster, it would be good. And maybe you can find out, okay, what did you actually do to make that happen? Like, was it the change in processes? And
we made a quick prototype to do some software check. So the more quicker, and then we can push the guy to actually do the supply. They say 2 years.
So you got to you got to find out what it is that you did. So distill it. See if you can distill it to one or two things, and then say it over here. This is what I did. The end result was we cut the delivery time from 2 years to 1 year. Obviously, that's substantial. That's a very powerful delivery and very impactful. And then end-to-end development for 9-speed transmission savings of 40 million hardware costs. That's very, very strong stuff. Translating user needs and product requirements and roadmap. Received Honda President Award effort by Translate. It's a little bit confusing. Like, it's too many things in one bullet. right?
Mm.
So you led end-to-end development. Okay, somehow that led to savings of 40 million. So your project focused on the cost savings, but it seems like your project focused on end-to-end development for the 9-speed transmission. Was it the 9-speed transmission that saved 40 million in cost? Like, let's try to maybe pull those apart a little bit.
Mm.
And like the second part, after the President Award might be its own bullet. Like received a distinction, a President Award, which is interesting because of blank. It is awarded very
Mm.
rarely, or it's awarded for this like for this action or behavior, whatever. And then that user needs to product requirements and roadmap. You've already said it a bunch of times, so I would not say blanket statements like that without necessarily the impact. Too often. I would try not to say it ever. So if you ever are writing something like, worked on PRDs and roadmap, it should have some sort of a proxy or final impact on your end users, internal, external, somebody. It shouldn't be like in a standalone, I worked on PRDs and roadmap, because all PMs work on PRDs and roadmap, or they should, but not all PMs deliver impact.
I see. But then sometimes recruiter asks, what do you do? Do you do any PRD stuff? I just put impact statement. They came back and asked.
Yeah, it's a good point. So that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes if you only listed one time PRD and roadmap in your entire resume, that's okay. Like if you listed by itself, that's okay. But ideally, you would list it with something, and you wouldn't repeat it multiple times, right? Because I think it is okay ultimately to say some stuff like, yes, I work on technical specifications, I work in Sprint, I work in Agile. A lot of times people want to say that. That's fine. See if you can find good ways of saying that. And if you can't, certainly don't repeat it multiple times. Created personalization, driving personalization user interface and user experience and launching the Accurate TLX. So how did you work 2011 to 2018, but launch the 2021 Accurate TLX? Is that how long these things take?
Yeah, it take 3. Well, new car take 3 to 5 years.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating. Find out something new every Saturday morning here. That is.
Well, depend on the model. That's the common cycle. Like 3 year, one. Well, it minor change 1 year. Like minor model change, like some facial change. Full change usually 5 years.
3 to 5 years. Yeah, that's awesome. I would say that's really strong automotive experience. I would encourage you to leverage that to get into these more hardware plus software automotive companies. I think it's just, you've got a lot of background in there. It's going to be so much easier to get a more impactful, higher scope PM role in that industry rather than another industry. I don't know if you've been trying to go that route, but I think it's a great idea.
But the automotive doesn't work remotely, mainly.
Oh, of course. Of course, that makes sense because you got to be on site. Actually, because hardware, any hardware, you got to be on site. Well, you don't have to, but yeah, I certainly see what you mean. Good point. Good point. Well, long term, we're going to get back out there eventually. Hopefully next year, this thing will be over more or less. So yeah, maybe try multiple routes. If that's the case, though, you see, you're working for Honda. It's very, very car oriented. So I would see which areas of the work that you've done are applicable to broader product management. See if you can put in some of those efforts front and center. So focus on the cost savings. Focus on product excellence. Seems like you got that on new initiatives, on collaboration, on leading teams, things like that. Launching 2021 Accurate TLX and stunning feedback. So don't repeat stuff, right? You got multiple times stunning feedback and launching 2021 Accurate. So don't repeat it. Figure out what you want to say and say it, and don't say it again. So I think you have plenty of stuff to draw on. You're right that it does. I wouldn't say it feels like there's not enough impact. I think you've got cost savings. I think you've got deliveries. I think you've got collaboration. I think you got startup. You've got to just play to your strengths. So see if you can, because you've got some stuff in there that's really powerful and unique. The startup, the organization, focus on that as much as possible and tell that story rather than trying to be everything. Let me just quickly scan. If you can scroll down, I see you've got some educational and staff sergeant and skills in there. Yep, that makes sense. I think that's very, very nice. You're not taking up too much space, but you're saying a lot of meaningful things there. And professional development. Yeah, that all sounds good. So rework that stuff. Check the language. Make sure it's all in the same tense, past or present. Usually past. Make sure it's consistent, and break up some of those big line items that get to the point too late. And focus on your strengths. Talk to your strengths. You've got a lot of very interesting experience. Try to see if you can bring that to the front. I would, regarding the summary, it's up to you. I would say you probably don't need it. I would rather move those bullets into the body of it, because you've got that unique automotive experience, especially that startup. Maybe it would be okay to kind of bring it up top. If that's the case, then I think something like what you have right now, but maybe not three bullets with like 2 line items, but maybe like 2 or 3 with single line items. Just like, here's what I did, focusing on the big impact stuff at Honda and the big impact stuff with the startup.
Yeah, startup. And then I put my IT or side work website project on there, but those don't have many metrics. It's just my own project.
That's okay. Yeah, you can list it under projects if you want. If it's substantial enough, you could list it as actual experience. Like you've already got your company listed there, so you can put it there, or you could put it, like I said, in the actual projects.
Project. Okay.
Yeah, try both. The automotive route. Keep trying that, because like a long game, and also see if you can recalibrate to hardware or maybe just generalist. Generalist is going to be a little bit harder, just given the experience that you've got to stay at the same level. But try it, see what happens, and track your results in terms of callbacks. And of course, you've got to make sure that you do well at the interview stage as well, and then check your results and see how it goes.
A couple of them, they asked, do you do user stories? So then I change my resume, add user story on the resume.
Yeah, user stories it's like Jira, user story, Agile, roadmap, all that stuff is sure, every product manager ends up doing it in one way or another. If you don't do it in the format of a user story specifically, I'm sure you do it as other formats like features or like problems to solve, or however you do it. The user stories is just like this agile way of handling product development. But yeah, you could figure out a way to sprinkle it, but like say it one time, don't say it multiple times, because as far as I'm concerned, it's filler. Like what I want to know is, sure, as a hiring manager, I want to know that yes, you've worked as a product manager, you've built stuff before, and that you can organize people, and you can know how to prioritize, and you know how to build software, you know how to think about the customer, like all those things. And that's the stuff that I talk about in the other videos. Like, what are those PM qualities that you want to demonstrate?
Oh, I see. Just the recruiter maybe asked different questions, I guess.
Well, yes. Well, recruiters, everybody asks different questions. Look, if you're speaking to the recruiter, that means the resume already works, as far as I'm concerned. If they reviewed your resume and they called you back for any reason, even to ask you if you do user stories, that means your resume works. And once you talk, the whole point of the resume is just to get you talking to the recruiter or hiring manager. And after that, it's up to you. Makes sense?
Appreciate it. It makes sense. Thank you, Alex. Right, appreciate it for you.
Thank you very much, and best of luck to you. Take care. All right, folks, let me get to some of your questions now. And of course, before we do, go ahead and make sure to hit the like button if you have not already, and subscribe. Also, if you're not subscribed, I know my stats are still telling me 54% of you are not subscribed. So that means that, well, let's see, we do have like 8 people that are in the staging area. According to my stats, 4 of them are not subscribed, which Seems strange, I know, but those are the numbers. So let me get to some questions here. Sharon says, Alex, I belong to a mechanical fresher from India. I don't have prior experience. Can I apply for APM in Twitter such companies? What skills do I need, like software? So, Sharon, I would say start from a bunch of my videos. I have videos on what skills are important for product managers and what are the top 10 skills and what tech skills you need as a product manager. So all that stuff. So I would just go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Browse the many videos that are there, and hopefully it'll answer most of your questions that you have if you're thinking about getting into product management. The short answer is yes, you can get into product management without experience. I think I have a video even like that, but you're going to need to know about the subject matter, and so that's a good way to get acquainted with that. Min says, hey, Alex, really enjoying your channel. Thank you very much, Min. Appreciate it. I feel like my current job is not preparing me at all for product management. I know side projects are good ways of breaking the PM. Yes, they are. I strongly recommend that anybody who's looking to get into product management does also build a side project or starts something with either another group that is building something or just starts like an organization, really anything. Because it shows that you can be a self-starter. You have an interest in building stuff, just kind of outside of work or whether for work. And also, while you're doing it, you're going to learn a bunch of important stuff that will help you as a product manager in real world. So it's kind of like a win-win-win-win. Strongly encourage it, and I do have some videos talking about how to start a side project as well. So check that out. All right, so let me see. Karina, it looks like you are next. Thank you very much for sharing. Let me go ahead and add you to the stream. Karina, hello.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for your patience. Give us a few words, maybe what your background and what you're looking for.
Sure. I'm a technical product manager and a software engineer. I was previously at IBM and also at Salesforce, but prior to that, I have over 6 years of experience in IT support and DevOps experience. But I decided to do a career change into project management and software engineering, and now looking to break into product.
I like it. All right, that's great. So you've got I think you've already got the great ingredients for having an easy transition. You got big companies under your belt. You got a lot of product development under your belt. So that's great. Let's take a look. I see you already shared your resume. Let's put it on the screen here.
Oh, sorry. I think I need to scroll up a little bit.
Yeah, let's just scroll up.
1 second.
But, yep.
Up there. Here you go.
Perfect. Okay, great. So IBM, that's awesome. So TPM and software engineer delivered 95% projects on time. By the way, you've already got, even without reading anything, I'd say just IBM and Salesforce will be usually enough to get recruiters' attention. You probably get callbacks. I don't know if you've already started to submit your resumes and kind of get a sense for it, but probably you will get a lot of callbacks. So for us now, it's going to be a question of just like tightening it up, making sure it's the best it can be. But I think either way, you're already in great shape. So deliver 95% project on time, improve sprint velocity by 5%, focusing on quality, streamlining intent testing, focusing on consistency. So it's not a bad bullet, but at the top, we should have the best. We should have the most impactful stuff. So something like this, while it is important to deliver 95% of the time, and certainly for a TPM, it's extremely important. Let's see what else is on there to see if this is the most impactful or not. Successfully launched IBM Cloud Delivery Platform app, onboarded 50 customers. Good. Manage and led technological deliveries in all aspects of product development, ideation, analysis, design development, testing, implementation, post-implementation phases. That's sort of a good. This is one of those, we were just talking about these type of lines where you're kind of saying the things that you're doing. It doesn't really necessarily have any direct impact, but it's also not bad because you're just saying the things that people in this role should be doing. And it might be okay to do it once, unless we can have it, we can actually tie it to some impact or just make it be somehow more, have more pop. So for now, we'll leave it and we'll keep going. Collaborate across functional engineering, design, product management, defined program, requirements, roadmap, strategic plan, direction. Again, same thing. The addition is you added the collaboration, the cross-functional collaboration, which of course is in general, it's very important, especially for product managers. Supported stakeholders developing scale internal tooling solutions needed, focusing on reusability, expansion. This one is begging for metrics because you supported them, you developed these internal tools, but the thing with internal tools especially is a lot of times people don't do exit metrics and success criteria. And so it's hard to say, okay, what was the point of those tools? Was that beneficial or not? And that happens to me all the time as well. We've kind of got to always watch for that. So if you can get some metrics or proxy metrics or something, that'd be very, very helpful.
Okay.
All right. Drove internal. So supported stakeholder. Yeah, that's internal tools. Drove internal, external, continuing process improvements, reducing manual efforts. Good, but again, we need metrics. Like, what was the point of reducing these manual efforts? Was it more effective? What happened there? How much did you switch to automation? Was there something interesting about that you want to share? So either impacts or like point of interest or something. Solved UI backend issues, partner customer facing web. Again, now you're just dropping like how you did it, which is not that important. Certainly not for product manager. Certainly not as important as why and what was the impact. So the fact that you solved those issues, did you solve X% of them? Did it lead to some sort of increased retention or engagement or monetization? What was the effect of you solving these issues for these partner and customer facing applications? Because as it is, like the last 5 bullets, they don't have a lot of metrics, which we basically miss an opportunity to showcase impact. Since you're going into product management, that's what's going to be most important. So even though you got your good company experience, you got product development experience, that's awesome. Now you got to think about what stuff did you do in all of this work that was most like what product managers should do and are doing, and then highlight that. Because the other thing that they're going to look for, hiring managers, recruiters, are the title of product manager. And so the closer we can get to that, since those folks that have not actually worked as an official product manager, for instance, a lot of times I've been talking about game development, like producers. Producers in my mind are very, very similar to product managers. I actually used to be a producer for a long time. And in game development, it's because you're orchestrating it, you're thinking about what to do, features, design, development, all this very similar stuff. And in technical project management and software development, a lot of times we do things that a product manager does. And so we've got to be able to figure out a way to highlight that, so that essentially you're giving a reason for the hiring manager or the recruiter to say, well, this person was not a product manager, but they are a product manager because they've done A, B, and C. You want to make it easy for them to tell that story. Make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, let's keep going here. Let's just look through Salesforce here. Reorganize process, develop cost-cutting measures, saving $100,000. That's awesome. Managed and coordinated IT setup for Salesforce conference, technology Dreamforce, met weekly internal business stakeholders, external contractors to organize setup. No, we need more. If you can't find anything impactful, see if you can dig up against stuff that is related to product management. Anything about collaboration or stakeholder management, or convincing anyone of anything, or end-to-end owning, like design, development, or launching, landing, things of that nature. Because as it is, it falls a little bit flat. I like the savings. That's always good. Any savings or income or any kind of metrics about the end users, those are all awesome. But especially since I see you were, you've got Salesforce IQ and Salesforce, maybe we could figure out a way to combine that.
There were two separate
entities.
Yeah, there's an acquisition. It's actually
Gotcha.
a smaller startup acquired by Salesforce. So they still operate separately with different offices.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Troubleshoot support, internal CRM, tier 3 level support. So let me see what else we have. Let's keep going, because you've got you got support analyst and desktop administrator. The best way that I would recommend to showcase that experience is to, again, find ways to have something impactful or something related to product management. Because otherwise, if you can't, which is okay, because we have stuff that maybe doesn't have anything to do with what we want to be working on, Then be brief. You are brief here already. I see you've only got 2 bullets. That's prudent. Maybe even potentially even less or shorter, just so that essentially you're saying, like, here's the important stuff. Here's the story I'm saying. This is why I can be a product manager. And the rest of the stuff is just factual information. And you can basically gloss over it because there's nothing necessarily important there that a hiring manager can use as leverage to actually give themselves a reason to reach out, right? You got to be thinking about it from their perspective of, okay, if you were reviewing this resume and you wanted to fill a product manager, let's say generalist position, that's what you'd scan for. You'd scan for product manager, big names, or big impact, or stuff that the product manager does. And so we just got to make sure that our resume is filled with things that they are looking for. Desktop administrator, tech op analyst, tier 1. So I would rather know like how many you supported, or maybe what was the consistency or success rate or something like that, rather than what you actually did. So in all of these situations, when you're configured, like you provided uptime, or you dealt with this many service requests, or like as a result of your actions, this happened, people stayed or were able to solve their problem X% faster or minutes faster, just something where you impacted the lives of some end users or some people, basically.
Okay.
Oh, you got Apple on here as well, huh? That's pretty nice. That's great, actually.
Internship. So like I kind of like started my tech support experience.
Yeah, hey, that's fine. That is great. You've got, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you've got Apple, Salesforce, and IBM. You could just say a software development professional, essentially, with a background in Apple, Salesforce, and IBM, is looking to pivot into product management or to complete the transition to product management. So something like that, like that's the theme. But again, like figure out the story. I think the story is pretty compelling. Let's go back up top, or let's finish on the bottom. You got technical skills and then languages, right? Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Great. Let's go up top again, and let me take a look at that. IBM. Yeah, I think you're doing everything right. Like you're stressing your most recent experience. It's IBM. It's the most related. So what I would just encourage you then to put the most effort into tweaking that top area to make sure you're focusing on impact and you're focusing on the stuff that product managers do. So make sure you check out my video on like the top 10 qualities of product manager, or the stuff that I look for when hiring a product manager.
Okay.
And let that be the guide, and then just rework that top area to make sure that you're focusing on that stuff. And I think you should be good.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alex.
All right. Any other questions? Of course.
No, I'm just having like sometimes having some trouble like kind of translating like the software work I do into like metrics and like more impactful statements. So I kind of have to like go back and like kind of figure out what happened and how to like translate that.
Yeah, it's very common. That's super common, and actually, it's a reminder for all of us to try to work on impactful stuff. Like when you can't figure out exactly what was the benefit to anyone, right? That means that you might not be working as effectively as you should in the future. So it's a good, like that happens to me all the time. All right. It's hard to measure impact. So, but you got to think about it proactively. There's one thing you got to do is, okay, so now I got to start thinking a little bit more concisely about the impact I want to have in the future. So like the work that I do now, so that later it has impact. So I know what the impact was. And I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm prioritizing it. And the second thing is, of course, trying to figure out, okay, what did change as a result of this work? Who was impacted in any way? And like start pulling on those threads, and hopefully you'll be able to find something. Like ultimately that is what impact is, right? Anybody's lives changed in any way at all. And then you try to unravel that and figure out what that means.
Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. You're very welcome, Karina. Yep. Best of luck. Keep me updated.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, folks, we are moving along. There doesn't seem to be less of you in the staging area, but it looks like RG, you're next. So let me just make sure I see if there's any questions. Rashid, hello. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being with us. And so here's actually, Duong says, from my experience, stage your job, working your side project on the side unless it's conflict of interest. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Sasha asks, thanks for another great live stream. Thank you. You're very welcome. It's good to be here. I did pro bono startup consulting college for a year, expansion strategy app testing. Would you put on a work experience in a separate section? If it overlapped with something else that you were doing, probably, you know what, either way, I think I would put it on the resume as a separate work experience because it's meaningful. It's related to product management if we're talking about product management. And I think that if you were able to actually have some customers and clients and have an impact, then yes, definitely in the experience, because it shows that entrepreneurial spirit and relevant because it's the strategy consulting questions. So I would say yes. And yeah, I'd be interested to see what that looks like. Min asks another question. I recently proposed to the management project status report system. If the management team decides to implement my reporting system, would that be considered as impact? Yes. So that's what I usually, that stuff you can call intermittent impacts, or it's your intermittent metrics. It's they're not your final metrics. So for instance, this project that you proposed, you had to pitch it, you had to convince people, and then if they accept it, that's impactful from your perspective. When they actually launch it and develop it and something will happen from it, that'll be additional impact, like final impact. But the fact that you were able to get people to approve it and start working on it, that's already impactful for you as a product manager because you had to convince people of doing something. So that's a good example of how to find those intermediate metrics, those proxy metrics that we talked about, where you didn't necessarily deliver something. Or for internships, a lot of times this is asked. Well, I came in, I only worked here for 3 months, but I put together this project, I pitched it, and did you get approval? Or did you get some approval? Did you get it through part of the process? You got to say that because no one expects you to be a magician and have an end-to-end project start designing and then completed within 3 months. So certainly convincing people of doing something is great demonstration of impact. Okay, so let me just go ahead and remind you again to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And then we're going to bring on RG here. RG, you're on the show. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you, Alex?
Doing very well. Thank you for being here. So tell everybody what your background is and what you're looking for.
Yeah, my background is in computer science. I got my PhD in artificial intelligence and computer vision for complex human activity recognition. After that, I got hired at iRecord Source, an environmental health and safety SaaS product, as the first product manager, and now I'm the director of product.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So that sounds pretty awesome. Let's take a look at your resume here. Just a moment. Okay, director of product. Yep, I see it. It's perfect. Okay. So let's start going through it. So translated objective into strategies, formulate a 3-year agile roadmap of product marketing initiatives. So actually, before we begin in earnest here, I see here that like this is this when it's in PDF, is that first bullet still 2 lines or is it 1 line?
It's 2 lines.
That's 2 lines. Okay. So sometimes.
Yeah. I know you said on your videos like about 1 line, but sometimes it's just like
it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not like a hard requirement. It's just just wondering about it. That's fine. That's okay. I just want to make sure like I'm reading in the right format. All right. So formulate 3-year agile roadmap. So it's funny because, there's no such thing as a 3-year agile roadmap. It's, when you think about it, it's a little bit of an oxymoron because like if it's agile, how is it for 3 years? How do you know what's going to happen in 3 years? So that's one of those probably things that you might want to restate differently because Again, I certainly understand that everybody wants to work agile, and it is very meaningful and helpful, especially for startups. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be building 3-year, roadmaps in the agile framework.
How would you state, like, for example, like big picture initiatives,
strategy,
strategy?
Okay. Yeah, I think this is great. Like a multi-year roadmap, I think is great. Even just a 3-year roadmap is totally fine. I would say, as a director of product, that's certainly what you want to do. You want to be building these big picture, long-term strategies. Now, as a product manager or a product manager director, or director of product there rather, I would want that that roadmap agreed to with multiple other teams and aligned with, and also begin working in collaboration with these other teams to set this plan in motion. Because usually when you do a 3-year plan, like I just recently did the same thing, and it requires a ton of collaboration with these other organizations. It depends on how big the company is. So you may or may not want to include that, but I certainly usually I lean towards impact, demonstrating impact. You've heard me say millions of times, but the fact that you're building out a long-term roadmap, I think is fine to say, and it is important. Let's see what else is down here. Let's see like how impactful the other bullets are, because it could be a nice complement to other impactful bullets. But if we don't have a lot of impact, then it might potentially fall flat, because basically we're saying, okay, we're building out these strategies, these long-term plans, but we're not executing on stuff. Maybe we're not getting the quick wins. We're not having a lot of success. So it's got to be both of those things working at the same time. Strategically reprioritize initiatives while achieving tangible results. Great. 66% increase year over year, 8% conversion rate increase month over month. Great. I think that is awesome. So are you saying that like post-COVID, these are the results you achieved, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's powerful. I would even say that like you don't need to say achieving tangible results, because those results speak for themselves. I would rather bold the actual ARR increase, YOY. And I definitely highlight the fact that this happened post-COVID. So like you basically pivoted at COVID, and then post-COVID, you were able to realize these big numbers. Just make that a little bit clearer, because I'm inferring that, but I just wanted to be just said, look, we had difficulties during COVID. We had to reprioritize, and it led to an actual increase of business, which I think is powerful, shows prioritization and execution. That's great. Analyze market needs and identify new revenue streams to expand products reach, led to 35% usage expansion within accounts, a 30% DAO and 12% MAU increase month over month. I think that's great. I think those metrics are specific. They're also not outrageously high, but at the same time, they are meaningful. Like they're obviously big increases. You also, why I don't like month over month, like year over year, I do like. Month over month scares me a little bit, because it implies short-term changes, which may or may not stay for multiple months. So sometimes it look like when I see these reports, I always look a little bit closer in, because they're suspect to me. Like are numbers being tweaked? Is this like a very short-term thing that happened? Sometimes people say like, look, like June to July, like this is what we did month over month, but the report is in September, and like, okay, but what happened since then? So it just starts to be a little suspect.
One of the reasons that I did that, just to explain my rationale and to ask for your opinion more than that, is that like if I do it year over year, because last year was our launch year, like the percentages are huge.
Got it.
Okay. So like it goes to what you said, that might look weird.
The other way. Yeah. Why don't you split the difference? Go quarter on quarter.
Perfect.
All right. That way we get the best of both worlds. Establish relationship with insurance carriers and providers, which led to the creation. So I think if you're saying led in the past tense, that should be LED as led. That's just
Mhm.
a personal pet peeve, but it's always better. To the creation of untapped by competition sales channel along with the CEO. Okay, let's get a little clearer. Like that's a line that seems interesting because you're working together with the CEO and you establish a relationship with new potential partners. But what happened with that? What happened with that competitions? With that untapped sales channel? Like, did it actually start growing? Is it just in the beginning of things? Why was it untapped by competition? All these things I want to know about in very brief summary. So just think about those things.
Yep.
And just the sentence structure there is a little bit awkward because, like, it's the creation of a sales channel along with the CEO reads like it's the creation of the CEO, but you just want to be clear. Like, together with the CEO, we established relationships with insurance carriers, which is a new sales channel, untapped by competition or untouched by competition or whatever. Just change the sales structure so that as you read it, you clearly understand exactly what's happening. Specify an own metric for acquisition, activation, growth, retention, engagement, product metrics. That is assumed to be the ownership area of certainly product management. I'm trying to think if there's anything meaningful to actually mentioning it here. So you're saying you set the goals for all of these things for the company or the product.
Yeah, and for different departments as well.
Okay. So maybe say that, right? Like maybe set, collaborated, and like approved was the final approver on success metrics or key KPIs or North Star metrics, or maybe like you made sure that there's one key metric per department or something like that, like because it's not coming through the actual impact of what you did, but there's actually a lot of benefit to organizing different teams around these North Star metrics, like these key metrics. Quantitative, qualitative data collection led to 90% account retention. That is great, but quantitative and qualitative data collection alone will not lead to retention. I think we talked about this also in a couple sessions ago, where it's a good first step, but there's a few steps in there in between. So this data collection led to what? Your analysis, so that what? You could build better features or what? So let's get to that stuff, or choose a different impact. Like if you want to say that, I think I see what you're saying. You're saying like I actually tracked our retention improvements all the way back to these practices that we set up. Maybe that's the case, but like spell it out a little bit. So what happened? Like as a result, we improved our velocity of development, or we added features that we didn't know about, or what was it about this data analysis or data collection that actually led to an improvement of retention?
Nice.
But overall, that looks good. I think you got plenty of things to work with over there to make it look really, really appealing. Development efficiency, Kanban, great. Monitoring coverage for the entire TI infrastructure, end-to-end testing, reduced bug tickets by 40%. Yep, that's good. Reduced bug tickets by 43%. I do like that. I'm guessing, again, inferring that you're saying that through these things, like through Kanban and through monitoring coverage, that's how you were able to reduce the tickets. That makes sense. I like it. I like it. It's not entirely clear, but nonetheless, I like it. And by the way, that's a good example of using the bold effectively, because I can see like, oh, you reduced the volume by 43%. It's pretty cool. Defined, executed, agile product roadmap, incorporating learnings, new research, stakeholder requirements, allocating resources appropriately. Yeah, good. Thank you for adding the impact there. That redeems that line a little bit, because it's one of those lines which is, again, like, here's some common product manager stuff. The fact that you put in a little bit impact already made it better, and you bolded it also. So that actually makes it okay. I don't mind that now. And if that's the only time that you mention agile product roadmap and stakeholder requirements and all this stuff, then that's okay. But once we start mentioning multiple times with no impact, then it starts to be a little weak. Onboarded. Oh, we skipped one. Created the GTM and onboarding process of products in collaboration with CEO. Good. That's good. So you're working together, CEO. That's strong. Was this go-to-market then executed? Did it lead to something else? Like, is there something else in here that we can grab onto in terms of impact?
Tangible results of like a first year client, like increase.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, that's perfect because that's what you want out of your GTM. Is a go-to-market is like your plan for how you're going to deliver the product, what's going to happen with it, how are people going to find out about it, marketing strategies, partnerships, things of that nature, or responses to different questions, internal, external. Like that's the GTM. Onboarded the company's first 7 beta clients. iReport source is the company, right?
Yes.
So maybe you could just say onboarded first 7 beta clients, right? Because we already know that it's this company. The first 7 beta clients, built and leveraged relationships. So these are, that's fine. Onboarded first 7 beta clients, built and leveraged relationships to improve product positioning through discovery interviews. These are basically the very first clients of the company.
Exactly. Yep.
You could actually say that, the very first 7 clients of the company. Built and leveraged relationships to improve product positioning through discovery interviews. It would be great if you can say something like ensured that retention for these folks.
They are still with us.
They are still, yeah. So it's like still with us, 2 years later or whatever, which is that's a good point to make. Reduce customer time to value by 67% by optimizing onboarding, collaboration, and customer success teams. That's good. Customer time to value is a little bit, it's good, a little bit vague. Yeah, I don't know what that means. I do know 67% is substantial, but like, what are we talking about? Because the thing is, I have no reference of what, I don't exactly understand what the company does, and it's hard to explain it. And if you're saying then time to value, then you're saying it's like whatever the company does, the value it provides. It's not a bad abstraction, actually. But I don't know. See if you can
clarify,
clear it up a little bit. If you do, it might become super long, and then it might be better to just actually say it the way you said it. I like it. I'd like it. If I'm overall convinced by your resume, that's gonna be an asset for me, because you're like, well, customer time to value 67%. I might ask you about that during an interview. But if I'm not convinced by your interview, then that's gonna be a liability for me, because I'm gonna say, oh, that's vague. I don't know what time to value means.
Gotcha.
This is a great resume. I really like it, Archie.
The videos were very helpful about it, honestly. Like, I changed it drastically after seeing like your resume video, because I had like my objective and achievement on the top, and I was like, he probably knows better than me.
Yeah. So it's
more people than I do.
So I'm glad to hear that. But you can always just sanity check anything that I say by imagining that you are the hiring manager, and you're looking at like 50 resumes. You're going to start skipping those objectives, right? Unless they're just super, super powerful. So I think it's good. And then we got the university, graduate teaching is going to develop novel end-to-end system. Great. You got some extra stuff over there. Data analysis, machine deep learning pipeline. Awesome. Programming language is good. And a PhD. I think that's very strong. Master's, BS, very strong. So RG, overall it looks good. You got plenty of impact. I'd love to see that. It's nice, concise, readable. I like the highlights. I like the educational background. Obviously, that's very strong as well. It's all very relevant, and I love the startup experience and the fact that you moved quickly to director of product. Now, if you go and switch to other companies, it might you may go back to sort of IC, where you're a product manager, an individual contributor, which makes sense. But this setting the GTM and setting the strategy are very, very powerful experiences that I think are going to serve you well in a product management career. So overall, I think you're in great shape. I bet. Please let me know. Email me how you're doing. I recently actually just got an email from another person who worked in the resume, saying that After the session, he ended up working on a resume and then quickly got a few interviews and now landed a job. So this was, I think, from June. So it was very nice to see that email. And it shows that like what we're doing here is actually helping folks. The fact that you're all hanging out with me and waiting patiently already shows that you find value in it. That's kind of my metric. But ultimately, RJ, I think you can do very well. Let me know how your search is going and just in general about your PM journey. Any other questions before we?
No, thank you so much. It was super helpful, and thanks for the honor of checking it out.
Of course, RJ. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All right. See you next time. Okay, folks. Thank you very much. That was a great resume. A lot of impact. I hope you all saw like how RG put together the metrics and pulling out metrics for even certain lines that don't necessarily have like obvious impact that you can do. I really like that. And I want to see more of that stuff. Kurt has a question. Let me just read that one. Kurt says, could you recommend some good courses on PM? Are there any certifications which hold value if you don't have any experience, which are industry recognized too? That's a tough question. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that you can learn. Certainly, I have a bunch of videos that are talking about product management, and there are plenty of other courses. I would start with all the free stuff. Just start with reading the books, and maybe the books are not free, but they're fairly inexpensive compared to the courses, and consuming the content that is available out there. Joining talks like this. There's plenty of stuff on LinkedIn where people are sharing their experience. And then I would say that it is still not everywhere accepted, where I'd be reviewing resumes and I'd see, okay, this person has experience with this certification, so they can be a good product manager. It doesn't quite work like that yet, but it certainly helps. Okay, so you've got that. That means you've got a general idea of how product management goes if you don't have any other experience in the actual business, in the industry. So I'd say start consuming all the free content you can get. Start building stuff by yourself with others, and then slowly, if you want to go to the next level, start to try some of these certifications. But I would say first thing is building your own product or joining another group of people or an organization first, and then maybe paying for a paid certification, because I think you're going to get more experience building something yourself than you will out of the certification, I think, initially. That doesn't mean that both are not effective, but I would start in that order. Hopefully that helps. Oh, and Tommy says, becoming a product manager course on Udemy is $12. So is that, Tommy, is that the Evan Kimbrell with I forget the other guy's name course by any chance? Because I think I saw that one and I did like it. So that's great. Yeah, $12. Easy. Yeah, you don't, I hate to say it, but I would start from there. I'm sure those more expensive products out there offer a lot more in-depth work, maybe some collaborative stuff, but I would start from, affordable stuff. Okay, Tommy says, yes, it is. So I love Evan Kimbrell in general. I have so many of his courses. He's just an awesome product manager and entrepreneur. Oh, Cole Mercer is the guy. Yeah, totally. I've seen that video and I like it. Minko says product school, but really expensive. So yeah, I haven't taken the product school. I know Carlos at product school, and I know that they definitely deliver quality product, but I have not actually taken the courses and they're investigators. So I can't say myself, but I certainly have heard many good things. Yeah, if there's any other ideas in chat, obviously, folks, let everybody know. Meanwhile, we're going to go. Edmund, we're going to bring you on. I see you're already sharing it, and it's going to be, let me just see a few more comments here. As Kelly says, I did a certificate program. It's been a lot of time. Was decent money. Forced me to actually do a product role from idea to getting ready to launch. Yes, Kelly, thank you very much for sharing that, because that's a great point. If you, for some reason you can't think of an idea that you're doing kind of from end to end, or you can't join a group of people that are doing it, this is a great way of sort of having to do it. You're going to go from end to end. And I think if you had a chance to experience that, I think that's very, very useful. Josh says, hello. Hi, Josh. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. All right. Edmund, let me bring you on here. What is going on, Edmund? Good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me back and, being really patient with me. I'm a longtime fan, returning customer.
Well, we're always very glad to see you, and I'm definitely excited to see what changes you've made. Maybe you can walk us through kind of what you've been thinking, and maybe this will be the golden iteration. I know we did. I think we did a couple of rounds already. So let me put you on the screen here. Thanks for joining us. And thank you for your patience, and everybody else who's in staging area also. Thank you for your patience. We'll try to get to you here, all of you, today. All right, Edmund. So, and again, I've looked at so many resumes in between the last time I saw yours that it's basically I'm going to be looking at it from a fresh perspective. So here we go.
Okay.
From the beginning. Let's do it. But I do recall that I've already seen, like, I've actually your website, which you have over here, like Edmund Engineering. That's where that leads, right?
Yes.
Tiny URL is still around. I did not know that. I've got to check it out. But yeah, I saw your page. I like it. I can't believe how much stuff you actually have going on. I will see if it's demonstrated here in the resume. If I will get a sense of that just from reading the resume.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Just Tesla. Just drops Tesla right off the bat. Controls and manufacturing engineer, free month. Led technical reviews of multi-million vendor bids for automation system. Directly influenced final selections for Berlin factory. That's pretty good. I like it. Did we tweak that? I think you nailed it.
I think you nailed it. That was like my fourth try.
No, we laugh because, yeah, I mean, we've gone over, I think, this line similar. And again, I have no recollection of it because I just so much stuff happened between that. But I recall that we talked about something like this, and it reads, I think, very, very good now. Led technical reviews. By the way, MM plus. Are you saying that it is from 10 to 99 million? Is that what you're saying?
I was thinking of it was between like 1 to 10 million.
1 to 10 million. Okay, so then yeah. XM, dollar XM.
Okay.
Because I was like, MM, what are we doing? I got confused there. It should be like basically dollar, however many digits M is represented by X, right? So dollar XM or dollar XXM is going to be either 1 to 10 million or 10 to 100 million. So dollar XM. So technical reviews of this level of vendor bids for automation system and directly influence final selection for Berlin factory. Excellent. The semicolon nails it, right? Because you're saving space. It's still a one line. We're getting very, very technical here, which I do like to do. But like, it's still one line. I have the effect, the result. I have the whole story. I know you have impact on a multi-million-dollar level, and I think it just sets the stage very well. All right, that's good. Line 1, very well. Identified and translated pain points, Tesla's oven controllers to over 10 addressable issues with solutions. Identified and translated pain points, Tesla 10 plus addressable issues with solutions. So you identified them, and then you had 10. So basically, you pulled out 10 issues from your analysis and you created the solutions for them?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not getting that. It's close, but I'm not quite getting it. I think maybe just sort of getting close to saying that, like, you analyze this thing and then you identify 10 issues and then you created solutions for them. I'm still not getting that story, because if that's the story you want to tell, I like it. You analyze this thing, you found issues, you propose solutions. I like it. But figure out a way to say that better.
Okay.
Present a replacement proposal, reduce cost by 50%, currently under review by senior management. That's good. Do you have any indication of which way it's going to go, or you don't know?
Well, ideally that the proposal goes forward, and it would be something that gets built out and it does replace all existing oven controllers at Tesla's factories.
Yeah, that's pretty serious. 50% cost reduction. I wish I knew what an oven controller was. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I don't think I'll get it. But I think that's fine. I'm not. I do like it because again, it goes into what we just talked about, which is internship. You only have a few months, and you just show the incremental progress that you made. So under review by senior management, were you able to present a piece of that, or does someone else actually present?
Yeah, I actually presented the thing to like 20 plus like senior engineers in my team, but
That's good.
I guess maybe I should put that down instead.
Yes, because that sounds right. Like presented to 20 plus senior engineers. I presented, which I presented. I don't know if you use the language of I, but because I probably don't see it anywhere else in the resume. But present a replacement proposal to reduce cost 50%. Presented to 20 plus senior engineers a replacement proposal to reduce cost by 50% per controller. Design new tracking system, allowing live reports on underperforming assembly lines to enable production visibility. This is great. Missing a little bit of the actual metric on there. Like it would be great if we can get. We probably talked about this last time, but like, how can we get it? I can see the value already, but like it would be great to understand what actually happened as a result. Design and shipped. You think you might get a proxy for that?
Yeah, this was like one of those things where it's also still an ongoing development. It's in the design phase, and I tried to take what you said, where like if it's hard to put your impact into like quantifiable like numbers, try to compare it to what was there like before. So what does this task enable the company to do, and how does it bring value?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay.
See if you can figure out. Again, it's not bad. I got the value of it just by sort of understanding underperforming assembly lines, but see if we can get even better than that. Design and ship new UI features for car throughput dashboards in Fremont, leading to precise car body tracking. New UI features for car throughput dashboards, leading to precise car body tracking. Which does what? That's the same, right? The fourth and fifth bullet have the same slight deficiency of missing proxy or final metrics.
Right.
Still not bad. Still not bad, right? But we got metrics for the top three. We don't have for the bottom two. Acted as product manager, design HR data transfer flows in database, eliminating 100% of manual processes. Strong again. I think you reworked that one. Nailed it again. But you're nailing these top lines. That's really important. Great. Delivered bi-weekly. So just to clarify for everyone, the reason why that's strong is because that impact is obvious. Like you eliminated manual processes entirely. And also what's happening is not as confusing as it certainly could be. Like you just HR data transfer flow between databases. That's it. By the way, you could even cut out between databases, right? HR data transfer flows. So it's HR personnel that are working with, that are just doing work, are now, they don't need to do any manual processes. Everything's automated. All of the stuff that's repetitive is automated. That's how I see it. Hopefully that's what actually happened. And then you can actually defend it and introduce. Delivered bi-weekly info sessions, created visual diagrams for data transfer flows, onboard 20 plus new data engineers. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. You onboarded a bunch of engineers. Introduced new test classes for 15 data engineers. 100% code coverage. I like these 100% all over the place. This is good. Public safety. Led product development on an automated GPS testing platform, saving 90% of work hours per device. Oh, that says work hours now. I think I remember that change. That's a good, good change. Oh, we lost your resume. I think you might have switched. Oh, there, you're back.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. 90% of work hours per device, with expected product release by 21 to all regional offices. That's fine. That is fine, because you're saying this thing is super impactful. It saves 90% of work per device. We're going to try to roll it out all over the place. I'm not with them anymore, but here's what's happening. All regional offices. It's good. Another excellent first opening line. Manage GPS testing project handoffs to external contractors. Further distribution to US. Did you manage GPS testing project handoff to external? That's fine. You don't need the comma between contractors and for further distribution. That's just super minor nit. Collaborate with international agencies to finalize 10 plus product functionalities and behavior when facing user errors. Finalize 10 plus product functionality and behavior when facing user errors. That line doesn't necessarily make sense to me. I don't know why you collaborated with them, and what are these product functionalities, and what does it mean you did it when facing user errors? Like, that whole thing is just a little confusing. Led cross-disciplinary teams of RCMP. I remember RCMP is like the FBI in Canada. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. I'm learning stuff. To roll out organizational-wide adoption of new devices by directing tutorial videos and writing educational documentation. Led cross-disciplinary teams to roll out organizational-wide adoption of new devices by directing tutorial videos. That's fine. It's fine. It's a little lengthy, but it's fine. And let's scroll down a little bit. National defense, optimize backend parsing algorithms at 20%, catch user typos. Great. Implemented easy to use shortcuts, require metadata use, manual input for analysis, 30%. Great. This is actually an excellent example of experience that is like 3 or 4 paragraphs down the resume. So it has fewer bullet points and it doesn't have too much stuff in there, but it has impact. We've got 20% optimization and 30% reduction in manual input. That's great. Awesome. Define product vision for a headless IoT device, detecting bed bugs, leading to CEO accepting product pitch. What? What is this headless IoT device detecting bed bugs?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is for a bio company in Vancouver, and they specialized in creating like bed bug sprays, so killing these bed bugs.
Wow.
And they wanted a way to detect in Vancouver like where are bed bugs being found. So the idea was to have like a hardware product that they can just give away to hotels primarily, where these devices would sit at the edge of like their beds, and then bed bugs would fall on them, and then that device, this headless device, would send signals to HQ telling us, okay, this specific hotel has an infestation, so we can like send them our product, kind of thing.
Wow, man, you certainly build a lot of wacky stuff. And so when you say headless in this situation, like, is that supposed to imply that it's not a camera or something like that? Like, what's headless?
Headless in this sense just means that there's really no user interaction. Like, there's no screen on it. It's really just something you turn on and you just let it do its thing.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So a headless IT device. Yeah, that's fine. The CEO accepting product pitch. Well, what happened as a result of that? Like, did they decide to build this thing, or what does that mean, accepting product pitch?
Yeah. So as I was after I pitched this, I guess the CEO came up to me. So I pitched this during during a company, like an overall company meeting with like 100 people. And after that, the CEO came up to me and said, "Oh, this is something like really cool. I think we can continue working on this." And then the following like 2 months, they actually hired like 2 more engineers to work on the project.
Okay, that's interesting. That is good. Yeah, I wonder if there's like a better way to say that, but I think that's fine. I mean, like, even leading to company CEO, like, effectively, I want to say like effectively starting development, right? But I don't know if you can say that. So think about that. Like, see if you can make it a little bit clear that essentially this product vision was accepted, and they did want to like push it closer toward development. Also, that's probably going to be the first time that I saw bed bugs in a resume, especially in product manager resume. So thank you for that, Edmund. That's also it's also a first. Conducted interviews with vineyard farmers to learn growing parameters and prototype models for data collection. Growing power. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like. Yeah, it's very multifaceted for sure. Permanent hardware department at Terramera by interviewing multiple. I think multiples fine. They're robotic engineers. Now, what did you do there? You established this hardware department. When you say interviewed, you mean you interviewed for them to join the department, or?
Yeah. So I was actually the first like robotics / hardware engineer that the company ever hired, and it was sort of like a trial phase because they primarily only had software engineers and like lab technicians and bio researchers. So they were sort of doing like a test run with me, and after I think I proved my value, I was given the go to start along with another software, like a director of software, to interview different robotic engineers and make these postings. So I guess I helped establish a permanent like hardware department by interviewing and also like giving offers to these engineers.
Hiring. So you hired them, right? They were hired.
I guess I didn't have the final say. I didn't know if it's
That's
accurate
okay.
to
That's
say
okay. I
hired
mean,
them.
helped with hiring. Basically, there's powerful thing there. First of all, there's two powerful things. First is you were the trial run, which proved the point. So figure out a way if that's impactful enough to put in there or not. And the second thing is you help build a brand new team of robotic engineers by interviewing and actually building this team. Figure out a way to say that better, because I feel like you're underutilizing what you did, because that's an important part of any product manager's job, is to continue to build team and recruit talent and all this stuff. Okay. All right, quickly scan through your project, software development. Yep, I saw that art installation. It looks great. Design and programmed algorithms to create uniquely generated art. Oh, so that's the one I saw, the Xbox Connect. Automated plant growing, prototype automated into plant growing pod, design script of a startup, drove seed funding, 2.6 million. Great. A hackathon, all over the place skills. Yeah, it's looking good. I think we're basically set. I think you should get a good response rate with this resume as it is right now. If you make those final tweaks, I wouldn't even delay making the tweaks to go ahead, because I think it looks great as it is. And I don't know if have you started already applying with these resumes?
Not with the more recent updated ones, like the ones that since I've gone through with you, not really, but I should.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Maybe just a few more changes. Don't delay. Go for it. I would love to see, maybe send me an email. Let me know what the response rate is in terms of like absolute and percentage wise, because I would bet that it would be a pretty high response rate, because I think you got a lot of strong stuff in there, a lot of impact. Some of the stuff on the bottom actually is more impactful than I think you give it credit for, like building the team, for instance. That you should figure out a way to highlight that a little bit more. But I think it's looking good. What did I say the first time we spoke? Did I say that it's looking good?
Definitely not. This is
Okay.
probably like, I think this is our third meeting, but in between, this is probably like my fifth iteration since we first met in September. So it's
Good
been
job.
a process. It's definitely been a process the last like 4 weeks, 3-4
Well,
weeks.
look, the results I think can speak for themselves here, because I really like this resume.
Awesome. Thank you so much for guiding me this process and like your patience with reviewing my resume multiple times. I really appreciate it, and it's been really helpful, and I'll keep you updated.
Awesome, Edmund. Thank you very much. Yeah. Best of luck. Can't wait to hear about your progress.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye-bye. All right, folks, that was Edmund. So yeah, we had a few sessions, and I'm glad to see that progress is looking really, really great. I really like the way that resume looks now. I bet he's going to have good response rates. Lexia asks if you need to have previous PM experience before applying to high-tech companies. And my answer remains the same, that it probably helps a lot more. Like the bigger the company, the more you need that PM experience. But I would suggest that as you're applying, you're still building up. You're still trying out different startups or building stuff for yourself. You're trying to get it so that you actually have product manager that you can put in your resume. Whether or not it's a big tech company or a small tech company, doesn't really matter. Certainly the standards are going to be higher for the highest tech companies. But there's also these APM programs that a lot of the top tech companies have. There's programs where they basically, APM is just like the starting product manager, where sometimes out of business school, sometimes out of college. So check out for each one of those companies, check out what programs they offer and see what you can take advantage of. Preksha asks, I don't know coding. What are the different ways to get into PM roles? So Preksha, I have a lot of videos talking about how you can get into product management, how you can get into product management without a tech background and without experience. So check out those videos. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay updated. I think I'm going to stay to resume reviews right now, but hopefully you can answer those questions just by looking at the other videos on the channel. Okay, we've got Christina. Christina, I see your resume on the screen. Let me bring you on the stream. Christina, hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you, Alex?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for your patience. I know that it's been a little bit long today, but I appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're looking for.
So right now I do freelance work, but I have a background in UX research. I'm pretty early in my career still, so I don't have much work experience, but I'm trying to leverage what I do have to break into maybe even an associate product management role.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's take a look at your resume. I see it on the screen. Let me put it up and good. Well, you say you don't have a lot of experience, but I see a full resume. So let's take a look and see what we're working with over here.
Okay.
Okay, so freelance. Business and brand strategies. Identify new digital product opportunities. So let me just take a look. That's November through, it's about a year, basically, a little bit under a year. Now, as freelance, that is like, do you have like an LLC or a company name, or is just freelancing as a sole proprietorship?
Yeah, I'm not working under an LLC name.
Gotcha. Okay. So business brand strategist, identify new digital product opportunities enhancement by uncovering user requirements through in-depth user. So that one's like a classic one. You've heard me say it multiple times during this session. Is like that one is okay to list, hopefully once, because you're basically saying these are the things that product managers does, and I've done them already. So there's an example of it. Ideally, we tie them to some impact, some metrics, something. But if not, it's okay to mention them. I think once. I think that's what we're getting out of today's resume reviews.
Okay.
Presented actionable brand strategy plans deliver meaningful experience to users across customer touchpoint. So again, there's like 4 things in there that you're saying, and none of them are tied to actual results for end users. And that's kind of the one that I repeat most often, but people still come to me and say, well, what about this situation? No, it's the same situation. You've got to figure out a way to tell that story to how it actually impacted anyone's lives. And maybe from the work that you've done already, you can actually pull out some of those stories. Maybe some of the clients that you worked for were able to change something for either their internal users, like their company coworkers, or their external end users. If you can find some of that and bring it in here, it's going to be much stronger. Now, the next bullet I see you do have an impact here. Increased your NPS for small size company by 33% by synthesizing customer feedback and product recommendations. That one is good because we have impact. So we actually see, okay, there was an improvement in NPS. That's awesome. That's always tough to move. But it's a little bit weak of how you did it, because synthesizing customer feedback, you certainly had to do that to affect any change. But can we get specific? Was there some change, like pivotal change, that actually led to this? Was there maybe two main changes that you can say were the reason why that NPS actually moved? That would be ideal. Okay. And if that's the case, by the way, then you can put that up top. That can be your strongest bullet, because, well, I guess I see what you're saying. Like that one, the first one is very general. It's like, it's all the stuff that I did. So you might want to, you may want to keep that as first bullet. The problem with that is, even though you do tell a story of the stuff that you are technically doing, and it does overlap with product management, because it's not tied to actual customer impact or actual sort of execution of specifics, it becomes a little bit weaker. And so I don't know how powerful it's going to be as an opening statement. Let's see what else is over here. So MasterCard, UX research manager, strengthen relationships between end users and business stakeholders, cultivate an online community engagement panel for consumers, share perspective. So that's good. You basically built this. Sorry, my son is singing in the background. Just gotta give him a minute. He'll pass by the other room. Little guy. So you built this engagement panel. I would want to know more about it because I like that it strengthened relationships, but I want to understand what was it like? Again, what happened? So how did it strengthen those relationships? And how did it allow for continual sharing of perspectives? So get a little bit more specific there if you can, and maybe shorten it and see if you can find impact. And I'm just by scanning it, I don't see impact on the UXR front, but UXR actually is a great overlap with product management, I think. But you've got to pull out those metrics data. You've got to figure out a way to say, what did you, because the point of UXR is you're speaking to people and you're doing your qualitative and you're trying to understand what do they really want, what are they not saying, how can we improve the product, whatever it is. And quantitative, you're evaluating their actual usage. You're trying to see, okay, I see that they're maybe saying one thing but doing another thing. What does this mean? What can we change? What can we make better? Remove obstacles, whatever it is. And I think you've got to dig a little deeper to actually find these metrics. I would encourage you to do so because I think UXR is going to be a strong overlap with PM and we want to leverage it. But in order to make it sort of verifiable as a PM experience, we got to get those metrics, those impact numbers. So when we look at reduced support call frequency, great. By how much? We've got to figure it out.
Calculate that.
So if you still have, access to colleagues that worked with you back in MasterCard, for instance, we'll see how much this has to do with other positions as well. But for MasterCard, you could actually see if they can give you some proxy numbers for that. Because if you reduce the support call frequency, then surely if you know that it was reduced, you should be able to find like how much it was reduced by. So follow that logic thread. I know that's not maybe very helpful, but that's kind of how we have to do it. Usability testing, complex analytics, but identify user goals and pain points. Yeah, be careful about when we go on at length about things like figuring out the user goals and identify pain points and doing analysis. Don't say that too often. Rather, because that by itself is not the way that we accomplish or enact change, right? That's the step one. But then step two is, okay, what is the finding from there? What's the actual project that we build? And that actually has the impact on, in this case, support call frequency. So you've got to figure out a way to just get a little bit more concise about it. Maybe by cutting those extra words that are not necessarily filling in the blanks of how you had impact anyway. So for instance, like reduce support call frequency by doing usability testing. That's fine as it is. So your usability testing uncovered something, some big user goal or pain point that led to you making a change that led to a reduction in the support call frequency. And you got to think about it like that. You got to close the loop. The more you do it, the more the resume is going to be interesting and catch the attention of someone that's looking to hire. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Good. Facilitated ongoing communication between cross-functional teams, good, through management of conflicts and Jira reports. Okay, that's good. We can get a little closer by saying, okay, did you lead sprint sessions, or did you enact a certain process that requires folks to communicate on an ongoing basis? And more importantly, what did all of this communication bring? That's the other thing. It's like, yes, if you make communication better, what happened as a result? Were you able to build more stuff or build faster or build better stuff? Those are going to be the questions. Collaborative executive level leadership, good. To create product vision documentation for new digital concepts through facilitation, design thinking workshops. See, it's all a little bit circular. I know it can be tough when you don't have a lot of experience. You're sort of trying to figure out, okay, how do you demonstrate relevant experience if you don't have a lot of experience? But you gotta maybe make more out of less. So I think it's okay for the resume to have less content than it does now, but more meaning out of it. And so I like that you collaborated with executive level leadership, but to do what? To create documentation, you don't really need to collaborate with them. You can create documentation with collaboration across functional team and then present something to C-level leadership. But then what are you going to present? And what was the end result? Did it get approved? Did it get further down in the funnel? What happened? Prioritize research requests based on funding, staffing, duration of project, business objectives, ensure high quality research studies. That one is okay because you're saying that you made prioritization decisions based on these factors. You almost don't need to ensure high quality research studies like customer centric. Like I know that that's what you want to do. I'm more interested in how you're able to prioritize between those things. So I like that you're telling me how you're making your prioritization decisions, but I'd love to understand like how you actually made your decisions. How did you make a prioritization choice between A, B, and C? Or what did your prioritization skills and ultimate selections actually change in the company? This is for sure tough to do, but you've got to, it's the same thing that we talked about during an earlier resume. Just look at which groups of people or which people had any part of their experience changed by what you did. And UXR does have a big impact on what ends up getting developed, what ends up getting proposed, and how various user bases interact with the product. They're kind of foundational. So you've got to dig through the paperwork that you have and maybe talk with ex or current colleagues, see if you can dig up a little bit more of the actual sort of meat of the results. Now, L'Oreal talent engagement, analytics associates, strategic hiring initiatives, ROI analysis, KPI dashboards. It's okay for the positions that were a little bit earlier to be brief, and I see you have that as fewer bullets there, and also to be a little bit less specific. Ideally, like what after multiple iterations with Edmund, we did get like nice bullets on the bottom as well. And I think ideally we would have that, but it's not necessary. As long as you got something powerful and impactful up the top, which you do need to add more stuff. Because if you look at the actual metrics, product manager resume ultimately will be measured on the metrics that are available there. So until you have those, I recommend obviously building stuff, which you're doing. You're doing freelance, which I think is great, but see what you can pull out of those actual experiences that you've had. Maybe build more stuff or join other groups where you're going to be able to actually put in some of these impact metrics into your resume. And ultimately, you want a lot of numbers on a PM resume. That's the thing that people, don't like me to keep repeating, but yeah, you got to get a bunch of numbers over there. And I even bold those numbers so that we can see that PM is constantly operating in numbers. They're trying to make everything better and tracking it. I see you got co-founder, which is good. It's a web-based beauty application focusing on user needs by providing qualitative users during MVP stage. So rather than that, I would want to know like what did your users actually get? And it looks like you did this for a couple of years, which is great. And you got angels investors, you raised money. That's good. I would like to know what happened with those customers. Like, are some of them around? How did you change their lives? And again, it doesn't have to be like this huge impact, but really anything about success metrics of the business itself. It's okay, by the way, for businesses to fail or startups to not go anywhere. That's totally fine. It's important that just the fact that you're a co-founder already shows that you have, again, entrepreneurial drive, which we want to leverage. Decrease bounce rate, identifying tracking performance metrics, alignment, business strategy. Again, you see, you often have this thing where you're trying to tack on more stuff on these line items. Get rid of it. Get rid of the duplicative stuff. It's okay that the resume is not as long as it looks. Once you look at it, like if you just remove everything but the impact right now, that should be your blank slate that you're starting from. You should have 2 documents. Document number 1 is this resume, and document number 2 is new resume, where you're only going to pull in powerful stuff. And it's okay if it doesn't have a lot. If it has like 3 line items in the whole resume, look at that and start to build the story that you want to say one piece at a time, rather than using filler. Because what happens with this type of content is it kind of ends up making you feel better because your resume literally looks good and even reads well. But if you put yourself in the shoes of a hiring manager, it won't come across as someone that you can take and put in a product manager role and expect to be successful, because you don't know, you don't see a lot of overlap. You're going to look for that stuff. Like if you were hiring someone, you would look for, okay, you'd want this person to be able to prioritize, to launch stuff, to convince people to do stuff. And that's not necessarily coming through, I think, largely because of the missing impact. So I think I like that you have entrepreneurial background. I like that you have UXR research. And I like that you're doing the freelance stuff and the strategy. And I think there's plenty there that you can leverage to get into a product management career. But it will require you definitely need some iterations on figuring out how to tease apart the impact, less filler, and I think we'll probably stop there in terms of my recommendations. But obviously, I'm happy to see you again next time or whenever you're ready to actually to look at the changes that you make.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. I was really wondering why I wasn't getting any responses. So this actually helps me a lot.
Okay. There you go. Yeah. I was going to say that probably as it is, you kind of look at it from the perspective of the hiring manager. You can see how, okay. And by the way, if you haven't already, check out my videos on like what I look for as a hiring manager. And then you can actually see, okay, if you look at that resume from what I'm saying, that will be a lot of times that will be why.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much,
Christina,
Alex.
You're very welcome. Thanks again for your patience. Appreciate it. Bye. Okay, folks. I think we have to stop here. I see Anna is also on the call in staging area. Anna, see if you can have your resume shared. Let's see if that works. Maybe we can take just a 2-minute look at your resume. If not, we will definitely do it next time. And let me see if there's any questions. Precious says, I'll be joining one of the big 4 companies as an analyst. So which profile should I target next to Pathway Towards PM? So as an analyst, like a business analyst, Precious, I would say if you're talking about which profiles in terms of which companies, obviously there's many tech companies. It's certainly not just the big 4. And if you're talking about like when you say which profile should I target, do you mean what skills should you pick up next? It all depends. If you're going for product management, obviously I have a bunch of videos on like what it takes to do well in product management. So I would start from there. And then as always, I recommend building stuff yourself, organizing the folks or joining other folks that are building stuff. That's always going to be very, very useful experience that you could leverage in the real world. All right, folks. So I think we're going to wrap up here. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you found this useful. If you did, make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe as well to the channel because I post videos about product management, business finance, and you will be notified. Also, sign up for my newsletter, which is going to be, the description is going to be, the link is going to be in the description below, where I will let you know whenever we're doing events like this one or any other awesome stuff that we may want to put together. So thank you all very much for watching. I will see you